inspired legacy is really not just having a prudent and kind of careful legacy, but one that when you're really thinking about what are the needs of my family, what are the needs of my community, what are the future needs of society, and so that I'm actually being an investor in co-creating that future. So we want to have, wherever possible, an inspired lifetime and an inspired legacy. So a key thing is to look naturally at what kinds of things you've given to your whole life. And oftentimes we don't write them down. So I think to start even looking, some people, only about 30% of Americans itemize their taxes. But oftentimes we keep those receipts of organizations that we've made donations to, or sometimes when we take a pile of clothes to a center, we get a receipt back. So I think the key is to look over the last 4 or 5 years at what have you given to? And so that's one list. And the other list is, okay, there's some things now that are deeply of concern to you that you feel like, wow, the environment's falling apart if we don't do something. Or I don't like the way immigrants and refugees are being treated, or whatever the issue is that really moves you. And you want to say, I want to step up and be counted on this. I don't like money in electoral politics, or I don't think it's right that the corporations can buy the elections, or whatever that issue is. It seems to be a new and emerging issue. To be able to say, stand up, this is something that I want to actually put in my giving plan as an area either I need to learn more about, I want to go volunteer so that I can be an educated donor on it, I want to go on the internet and get into obviously a group where I can have conversation with other people who feel the same. And the whole internet is a whole very cool way of being able to get educated now on these issues, as well as connecting with your community foundation when they have an event or they have an education focus on one of these topics that are of interest to you. So this is a time where coming together with others with shared interests has added value, and you want to be in a learning community. I think that's the most important thing I can say. Also remembering that working collectively with others, you may have $25 to give now, but if you pool that money with others, you can make a $2,500 gift, and that begins to feel like serious change. It's a little overwhelming to start with, what are your values and think it has any connection. So I urge you to consider instead, what's a moment where you really saw an injustice happen in your life? And something that really upset you, and maybe something that happened yesterday on the news, and to be always in the center of that relationship to an injustice or a justice you want to see happen. Because then really your passion comes through and your reason for doing this is very, very clear. And oftentimes it's a relationship. You may have met someone that was a homeless person, or a person who you knew was really struggling as a single mother with no child care. Or a person when you traveled that was in a different country who clearly was in such a state of extraordinary poverty that you were moved to reach out. And I think we have to remember what fuels that passion. Likewise, I think questions that have to do with, what are we called? What kind of change are you called to do? Sometimes we have unique experiences and travel and people we've met that enable us to be the advocates for those populations. And I think that's a very, very important thing, to feel as though we are supporting and being a voice for people who are disenfranchised, and that we have the capacity to bring them forward through our leadership as well. So be an advocate for those you care about and bring them to the table wherever possible.